David Banner.
Sydney, give us one of those times, bro, when you negotiated something and you hung up the phone. Was like, I did that shit, bro. like.
That's not what I do.
So what do you do then?
Oh.
What I do is, I think, and there was a situation where she was like, let's end it here. And I'm like, I understand that you want to end it here and you're good with this, but it's not fair. And you'll be taking angry money when you realize in the long run what it is.
Okay, stop right there. What were you thinking, right? When
Let
you
me
said
tell
that?
you something.
I saw your eyes. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. When they began to negotiate the BET deal for the talk show, right? Well, the first number they got to, real shit, it was the biggest number I had ever seen.
Right.
And that was the first number. I'm like, let's sign this shit, baby. We doing it. He said, no, we not. What do you mean? No, we're not. He was like, no, it's not time.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead, Sid.
She was right there with it. And so, at the end of the day, it was, we could do it, but it's not the right thing. We just need to have a little bit more dialogue in reference to it. And I think that based upon the individual I was speaking with, very logical, I think she'll know it's fair in the vein in which we were trying to construct it, even though it could be better. And we were able to work something out in a way in which was satisfactory to both sides.
You know what I see? I see balance. Mm-hmm. Sid is like, yeah, and then, when we came off and then Monique's like, yeah, shit, but them motherfucking niggas.
Yes, that's why when people started saying, this is what was funny, Regina.
Libra and Sag.
Yes, okay. So when I started getting women saying to me, right, you not scared to have your husband? Because that's going to make you look weak.
What?
Yes, I did an interview with a young sister who was married, and she said, oh, man, Miss Monique, what you having your husband there, you don't think that's going to make you appear weak? And I said, sister, that's what they got us believing. You keep on fooling with Oprah Winfrey. Mm-hmm. You'll have a lot of stuff, but you'll be a very lonely woman. Mm-hmm. My husband being with me makes me stronger. And people thought that for whatever reason, I couldn't think for myself anymore. Oh, she just letting this nigga control her. People don't know, okay? My husband had to come to the meetings to keep me from saying, nigga, what did you just say? I'm getting ready to ball my fists up. So it was a thing of, I needed that balance. Mm-hmm. I needed that non-emotional attachment, because we're the performer, and I'm emotional about my shit. Y'all heard what Erykah Badu said? I get sensitive about my shit. We get emotional about it, and so I needed that balance to remove the emotion, to make it make sense, and that's what it is. But that's what it is with he and I, just in life, period, because I'm fire. I'm right.
Yes.
Okay.
We all need that.
I'm going to react now, and we can talk about the shit later, but you push the button right now. I'm that, and I can still be challenged with that. So I'm grateful that my husband, my best friend, my lover, my boyfriend, my brother, my daddy, all those titles, I'm grateful for his calmness, because it's grown me up.
So one of the things, okay, no, Regina.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask, how have you been able to sustain as a married couple? But just sitting here and listening and watching, I see. And I think that's pretty dope.
Well, that was the question that I was going to ask. I was going to ask, one of the things that makes us mad on this show is we hear a lot of women who don't have a relationship always tell women how to maintain their relationship. I want our young women and women in general to hear from a woman who's successfully navigating herself through success and a relationship. What advice would you give to women to keeping a successful, healthy relationship?
When I say this on stage, right, the wiser sisters look at me with pride. Mm-hmm. The younger sisters look at me with Are you crazy? I know my place
They
as
haven't
my
lived
husband's
enough life.
wife. Now, for a long time, I did not. For a long time, baby. Listen, and it took us some time to get to that place because every man I've ever been with, I've been the boss. Every man I've ever been in a relationship with, I make the rules, I run it, I tell you how it's gonna be. That's how it's always been. Well, when Sid and I got together, we've always been best friends. And he's always given me a pass on shit. Always. So when we got together, I was still fire. I was still till he had to let me know I'm not that. That's not how you're gonna address me. That's not how we're gonna deal with one another. And it took me some time to feel safe because I was raised to be a fighter. My father raised a lion, not a lioness. He raised the king gorilla. He didn't raise, the women gorillas. Okay, he didn't raise Henrietta the hippo. He raised Gilbert the great ape.
Stay right there. Stay right there.
Oh, no.
Stay right there.
Why, Monique?
Stay
Why?
right there, sis. That's what we're talking about. No, don't move.
I ain't gonna go nowhere.
Don't move.
Come on.
Thanks, Monique.
Sis, this is what we talking about. In the world sometimes, even though you don't want to be, sometimes you have to be a black monkey nigga. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I love it, baby. I love it. I'm from that tribe. We from that tribe. I love it. Yes.
No, but Sid, bro, give me one time, bro, where you at least almost lost it, bro. Cause I see the fire tucked down in there,
man.
bro. You gotta give us one, Sid. You ain't gotta give us the whole story.
I think that one time I forgot the discussion that we were having, and she began to raise her voice, and it was kind of like what was that, Malcolm X moment? Yes. Where it was just like, hey, I'm never gonna raise my voice at you, so don't ever raise your voice at me, and we good.
Right.
That was it. And from that point, that's not what we do, because I came from a household where my dad was physically and verbally abusive to my mother. I had seen him like that with other people. And he was an equal opportunity ass whooper because I called shots too.
Right.
So when you are in that experience, you either duplicate, or it makes you reflect on and say, I don't want to be that person. So I find that I do better with people when I deal with them logically, and innately I'm a logical person, being a Libra of scales. So that benefit I have in dealing with someone who's fire, and my grandmother, same sign as Monique. So I married a version of my grandmother, whereas, fire, in order for it to breathe, it needs oxygen.
Oxygen, exactly.
I'm an air sign, so I want her and love her being exactly how she is, because I appreciate people that tell you exactly what they're thinking. You're not in limbo with her. And I think at this point, the world knows that she's going to tell you what she's thinking.
Exactly.
So I always know where I am, but there's just a way in which to communicate those things, and, that's been our experience.
Now, but I want to say this because people have a hard time. We've been best friends since we were 14, 10th grade. We're now 52 years old. I've never seen this man mad. I've seen him disappointed, but I ain't never seen him mad. So when people say, it's got to be, listen, never. I had to put one of his girlfriends out one time.
Oh, my goodness.
I had to walk that ass to the door, okay, because we were roommates.
Right.
We were like brother and sister. And I'm upstairs asleep, baby, and I hear this, just let me get my stuff. And I don't hear him saying nothing. I'm like, what the hell? So when I go downstairs to his room, he's standing there just like he looking right now, just as pleasant. I said, what's wrong? She said, he won't let me get my stuff. I said, where's her shit? He said, it's right here. She can get her things. She got her things. I walked her to the door. I opened it up, put her ass out, came back upstairs. I looked at him. I said, yo, you good? He was like, yeah, yo, I'm good. That's it. So it's no show. It's no, oh, we got to be this way. It's just what it is.
2 weeks later, though, it was reciprocated.
Okay, yeah.
Since you gonna put me out there,
He
I
had
had
to put
do
my
the same.
boyfriend out.
Okay, so that's where we've been with it.
Right. So, can you tell the people where you all were raised and how that environment shaped who you are, both good and bad?
For both of you.
Okay. Baltimore. I was raised in Baltimore. Raised with both parents. Youngest of my siblings. But I was raised by people who didn't love each other. And I was raised in an environment that my mother wanted it to look one way on the outside, but it wasn't like that on the inside. And I was raised to do it individually. I wasn't raised to be a team. So that's how that shaped me. And then when you put molestation in the mix, it made me very guarded, very tight. And it made me very outspoken because I felt like if you were trying to violate, I couldn't let that happen because it happened before. So there are people that know me from my childhood and they would say, we thought they were so close. Because on the outside, that's what it appeared to be. But on the inside, we were raised to be individuals. So that played a big part.
Sydney, before you answer the question, I want to ask you this before we go too far away from it. My mentor was molested, and he's very outspoken. As a matter of fact, he's dedicated his life. You were one of the most outspoken people that I've seen about molestation, and I think that's a dark bone in the closet of our people that we never talk about. What gave you, especially after you had garnered so much success, what gave you the power to speak about something that obviously hurt you and affected you so much?
Because I'm not unique. That's not a unique story. That runs through all communities. It runs rampant. And because it's such a secret, and reading that script and playing that character, it allowed me to understand it was a sickness. Right. And there was nothing for me to be ashamed of. It was nothing for me to feel guilty about, though I used it as a crutch for many a year. That was my go-to. When I made a bad decision, I did it because of what my brother did. When I made a bad call, when I slept with all them men, I slept with all them because what my brother did. Until one day my husband said, hey, stop using it as a crutch. The decisions you make are your decisions. That man did that to you when you was a little girl. You're a grown woman right now. So the decisions you make are your decisions. You can't keep relying on, oh, well, because that happened to me, so it allowed me to speak out about it because it allowed me to stop hating my brother. Right. To say, y'all, this is a sickness. And my brother is cruel to this day. He's a cruel person. But it allowed me to not hate him, to deal with it, to say it out loud, to let's address it, y'all, and then you'll understand, well, this cousin did it to that cousin, and this uncle did it to this niece, and once you start talking about it and understanding it, it makes you not hate the monster. And then you start dealing with the person.
Sydney?
It's like, you still want to hear that? Raised in Baltimore, but it was kind of like two worlds. I was raised in Randallstown, Maryland, but would spend a lot of time with my grandmother who lived in Baltimore City, which, folks would be like the hood, East Baltimore. So you got a chance to see two sides of life. You know, cats that were, uptown that wanted to have a swag like they were from downtown, but you see the real cats downtown. And it was a different type of vibe in the sense of the police would stop you in the county. The neighbors would stop you and say, "You Miss Hicks' grandson, I see what you're doing." And before you get home, Miss Hicks already got a call from Miss McCullen letting her know that you was in the alley back there playing too loud and whatever. It was a real type of situation. When my grandmother died, the drug dealers came off the corner and 8-Ball Jackets was at the funeral. And they was like, "Yo, you part of the family. So you always welcomed around." So that duality of vibes, to see somebody that I knew from the county, a cat named CJ, we standing there talking, but we in town, but he's from the county. And he's working with his cousin's boyfriend who's selling drugs. And we standing there talking. And I didn't know that was the last time we was going to talk because he gets involved in a little beef. And the guy he's helping out, trying to shoot at the other folks, he shoots him 3 times. And we the last people, the dialogue that I had with him, I was the last person he spoke to. So you get an opportunity to see a lot of things. With that said, it shaped me, especially with having a dad who is a Sag as well, fire, couldn't control his temper. My mom is a Libra. And you get a level of balance because you get an opportunity to say, what side you want to go with? Someone who is unable to control their emotions, or an individual who has to control their emotions. And my mom would always have me. I've still got the picture of Billy Cooper, who was the first cat to call me a nigger, and the first time I ever punched somebody in the face in Arlington Baptist Church School, in which I got eventually kicked out because of fighting. So this is in the 70s, all white predominantly environment. And you are one of like 4 black people in the school. So you get a chance. My understanding of this black and white thing has been embedded from a very young age. But I found out that you gotta have a level of cool, because if not, the O'Regan brothers may have called you a nigger, but the fact that you banged them in the face, they saw you hit them. You got to stay cool. Now you taking a charge, if you will, in school for something that they initiated, and you surrounded by white. How do you circumvent this situation? And it's very similar to that in Hollywood. So when I see Monique, when we go on our first meeting, and there's a white agent, Susie Unger, and she's in there telling the people on a pitch meeting information that would make no sense, like Monique and I are so close. She slept on my floors when we first got to LA with her family. I was like, did I black out and miss this part of your life? Because when did that happen? She said it didn't happen. So why are you and Steve allowing this white woman to say these things about you? Oh, no.
I didn't say it like that.
Okay.
Now, shit. Okay.
How'd you say it?
I was like,
Get it?
How'd you say it?
like you said, I said.
But
Sydney,
it was.
can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
What do you eat your soup with?
Wow.
I eat my soup with my spoon.
What else? Like edible, something that's edible.
Any other food you eat?
Any
with
other
crackers?
foods you eat your soup with?
You throwing me off? I mean,
No, I'm just asking. Anything else that you eat soup with?
A spoon.
I mean, no. Anything else like cornbread or something like that?
Oh, you mean like what go on the side of it, like a sandwich?
No,
Like,
eat a sandwich or something.
yeah, like a simple sandwich.
I've been open to it all.
Like what? That give us some examples.
I've been open to the cornbread.
What else?
I've been open to just a regular sandwich.
What else?
I've been open to, I can't even think, man.
He's a
Just-
smart one, ain't he? When you go to a winery, what you have with wine?
Really?
I've never gone to a winery.
Are you the church?
Nah,
What
man.
do you put in your soup?
What do you?
What do I put in my soup?
What are saltines?
Yeah, that's what motherfucking
I cannot. Cannot.
He skipped everything around. He said, I got everything. Sandwiches.
See, you can tell that he negotiates deals. Like,
I loved it.
because we got to go deal with the motherfucker. Now, we find a way to say cracker 7 times at every show.
I cannot.
Sydney, I apologize for bringing you into that foolery, but we love saying that word here at David Better Podcast. Sydney, all right, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to ask Monique, when you were saying, like, you enjoyed every bit of it, is there anything that, like, if you had to say, like, because you always wanted to be famous, like, what was, like, your Super Bowl moment or the one that was like, yeah, I did that shit. Like, this is the one I've been really waiting on.
All of it.
Some baller shit.
Oh, yeah. See, for me, it's all of it. Like, I don't have a particular moment that said, okay, so this was a moment, right? Right? This is how green I was, right? When I first got the Parkers, okay, they would send out these memos where people had to park if they were coming in to read for the Parkers, right? You had to park outside the gate. Well, shit. They sent the memo to me too, so I must have to park outside the gate. So I parked outside the gate. I had been parking outside the gate, walking across the parking lot, going into the studio, till one day a brother named Jimmy Tripp, you know Tripp, Jimmy Tripp saw me walking across the parking lot. He said, Monique, why are you walking across the parking lot? I said, oh, because the memo said we had to park on the outside of the gate. He bust out laughing and said, sister, can I take you for a ride? I said, sure, Tripp. I get into the golf cart, and he drives me up to my parking space right outside the studio, and he says, this is where you park, Monique. And I was like, like I have a fucking parking space, yeah. Like, it's the little shit for me, baby, that, you know what I'm saying? It's the, and then I know one of my most embarrassing moments in the business, right? So, and I love Tisha Campbell, okay? I love her, and I love her relationship with Tashina Arnold because it is unheard of in Hollywood, right? And I had won like maybe 2 years in a row for the Best Actress, Comedic Actress, right? For the Image Award, I had won 2 years in a row. So this is the 3rd year, right? They didn't call my name first 2 times, so I get ready to call it this time. So, okay, David, stay with me, right? Now, Tisha's sitting in front of me, right? So I'm getting myself situated in my chair so my game won't get caught when they call my name for the 3rd time.
Don't tell me that.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, David. And then they said, and the winner is, and I want to stand up. They said, Tisha Campbell. I said, go get it, girl. Go get it, girl. Yeah, that taught me a lesson. Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Oh, God.
You said you guys have known each other since you were 14. How did you met, and when did you know that he was more than just your friend?
Good one, Gina.
That's a good one.
Because I was going to ask him that. Good one, Gina.
Well, we'll see, okay, we always have a different take on this one particular kiss, okay? So we met in the 10th grade in Mr. Torres' class. It was Gene, me, and Antoine. Because at the time I called him Gene, I didn't call him Sydney, right? And we all sat in the back of the class together, we kids. But we were like brother and sister. We didn't meet on those, like, he thought I was cute, right? Okay, right? He thought I was cute, but he thought I was too grown. So, but just through all the years, we just stayed best friends. He knew my boyfriends. I knew his girlfriends. We lived together. We were just like that until one night I had a party at the house, right? It was after the BET Awards, right? And the next day I was going to Essence. And so I go upstairs to take my shower, and he comes upstairs to the bathroom, which was nothing out of the ordinary. We've lived together, so it was nothing for him to see me naked or nothing. So I get out of the shower, and he says, when you come back from Essence, why don't you come on over to the house, So I said, okay, right? And then he leaned down. He leaned down, and normally the kiss it was nothing out of the ordinary, but this time the kiss was half lip, half cheek, and it felt different. right? So the whole time I'm down in New Orleans, I'm like, I'm okay. Now I meet another gentleman down in New Orleans, but Sid still got my mind blown because I'm like, what the hell didn't happen? So when I come back from New Orleans, I have a meeting, and after the meeting, I go to Sid's place, and he's cooked dinner,
That damn Sid!
right?
Boy.
And then he wrote this amazing poem, right?
You still know it?
Nah, man. It don't.
And we have not been apart since.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sid, question for you, bro. How there's so many people that I hear when they have a woman of her magnitude. How did you ever have to navigate your ego through her success?
I've always admired strong women. I was raised by strong women. So in my mind, it was always, I think the greatest piece of advice my father gave me was, you always want to deal with a strong woman because you may be in a situation where you need to feel comfortable with saying, you got to hold this gun too. I'm going out first, but I need you to hold this down.
Right.
And I can't have somebody that's afraid. So having a strong woman was more of a necessity more than something that was going to be something that's going to, because if your ego is getting involved, it's almost like you're not appreciating the strength that woman has. So no, it's not, because I think our relationship prior to us being together groomed us collectively for that moment, because I can't get mad now that people are wanting to take pictures and this, that, and that. That's how I've always known it to be. Now I'm mad because we married. Like, come on, man. So fortunately, I have not had to have that situation, and I kind of appreciate the background. I'm here today because oftentimes I'll say, folks are not trying to hear me. They want to see you, mama. I know, but I want you to come with me because they need to hear this.
Yes.
And it helps other men who are in that situation. My relationship before this one, she was probably the most powerful young black woman in Atlanta. And I can't lie, it took me a minute to adjust to that paradigm because it was a shift for me. I was always bringing everything to the relationship. And a lot of times it had nothing to do with her. It was just me dealing with that. And that should be what we want for our partner. We should want our partners to be successful. And if we can, make them more successful if it's possible. But it's still something to navigate. And you are an example of someone who is doing it successfully. So I ask those questions just to give some advice that people usually don't give. You know, that's what I want for our show to be. I want our show to be somewhere where our people can come and get information, and people ask questions and work themselves through things. We've dealt with death. We've dealt with insurance. We've dealt with I almost died a month ago. That people don't know about it. Something happened that I can't talk about, but I almost died a month ago. We talked about it. I was bleeding. Like, literally, my arms were bleeding on the podcast. We didn't know it, but every time I raised my arm, we were bleeding.
He was bleeding.
Yeah, I was bleeding. No, but seriously, though, so when we ask those questions, we ask to help maybe someone that's in that position. You know, that's the reason why I asked.
Absolutely.
Monique.
Yes, baby.
Is there a role that you haven't played? Like, do you have a dream role that you want to play?
A dream role, you know, all of it. And again, I know when people say, because all of it. I'm that same little girl in the bathroom mirror with the towel wrapped around me saying, one day. So may it be Nikki Parker to Mary Jones to Betty to all of them have been that dream role. You know, I think that Mary Jones was a for real. Like that was like, for real, Lee? Okay then. Like, but all the roles.
You did that, though.
It was a great time. It was a great time. And for that role, it allowed me to do it because I knew that monster. That monster was my brother. And when you had people saying, why would Monique play a role like that? Because we need to see her.
Yes.
We need to know she's very real. She exists, y'all. And we start getting ashamed of all of what we come from. We only want to highlight the goodness and we get ashamed of all of who we are. So in playing that role, that was one of those, it was an honor to bring her to life. It really was, to let people see she's real. Yeah.
Do you prefer acting to doing stand-up? If you had to pick one, it was like, you got one you're going to do from here on out.
Stand-up is my baby. Yeah, that live audience, baby, it gets no better. For a live entertainer, for a live performer, because you're not waiting for numbers to come back. You're not waiting for reviews to come back. You know it in the moment. You know if they got you in that moment. So stand-up is always my baby. Yeah.
Is there anything that's coming up that we can push, that's coming up soon for you on that front?
Well, Sid and I just became owners of a basketball team in Houston, the Houston Equalizers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's we want to say co-ed instead of mixed gender because it started getting confusing. But it's co-ed basketball where men and women will be playing together, and we're really excited about that.
That's dope.
That is dope.
Yeah, we're taking players from the NBA and the WNBA, international players, and I can't wait to see the first woman to go up and put it up on his neck. I can't wait for her to put it up. Is it put it on his neck or put it in his...
That's good enough.
Okay, yeah,
we get the point.
Put it on him.
Go ahead, Regina.
Do you see the acting or comedian in any of your children yet?
All of them. Yes. They're all very musically gifted, and not just because they are babies, but it's what it is. They're these brilliant writers, and they are, and not just because they're my babies, but they're these wonderful little human beings. And now for me as mommy, it becomes a little difficult because they're getting bigger, Regina.
I know.
Okay, and I just had to deal with something a couple weeks ago that I was in my feelings, right? They had to go to the doctors, right? And now they bigger than me, okay? So they didn't want me in the room.
Oh, yeah. That's hard, Monique, when you start getting to that point.
So as we riding to the doctor's office, I'm going to take the lead and say, listen, I realize y'all getting older. When they get to the public, she's got to check your privacy or whatever. If you want mommy to leave the room. They was like, yes, we want you to leave the room.
They sure do, with the quickness.
Baby, I sat right there until she said, well, do y'all want mommy to leave the room?
And they said yes again, huh? I know, you be wanting, you little
Right, baby.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so, but they're really talented. Yeah, they are.
All right, so in closing, love, we I know what I want to ask you before we close.
What you want to ask?
Who's your counsel? Like we know you have a rock and see it, and we understand that, we see that now. But who's somebody that you go to, when you want to talk about the things that you're going through in entertainment or just in life in general?
He's sitting right here to my right.
That's good.
And I want to address that because we don't take advantage of the team. I don't need to go anywhere else. That's
real.
my team.
Right.
So if I'm going somewhere else, what am I keeping from him? It's like, and I remember because for some years I had to go to a psychiatrist. And Sid said to me, I need you to go see somebody that don't have a dog in the fight. Because you may not take my word for what I'm saying. And everything Sid would say to me, damn if the psychiatrist wouldn't say the same thing. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm dropping this money. We dropping this money. But damn if he ain't repeating everything that Dr. Monzo's saying to me. So I don't look for outside counsel.
That's good.
I look to my partner and my husband and the one that's nurturing and training and raising. So, for us to talk to our community, especially the Black women, y'all, they got us chasing fantasy. And they got us chasing stuff. And they don't have us chasing love, and they don't have us chasing team. And when I have women asking me, can you have it all? Yes, you can. You just got to know your priorities.
Yeah.
You got to know at the end of the day, Hollywood ain't going to wipe your tears. Hollywood ain't going to take your cramps away. Hollywood ain't going to rub your feet. So you got to depend on and trust in who you said I want to spend the rest of my life with, and vice versa.
And if I may, oftentimes there's one side that's stated, which is from Monique's perspective, you got to know your place. The thing is, as a black man, when you have someone that is your queen and you're the king, you got to know your place too, because you have to allow and be comfortable. And the word allow is just used because I don't know a better word. Don't get in the way of that person being who they are. You've got to be man enough to let this person be woman enough to be who she is, because her doing whatever that she does of the highest of magnitude that she can accomplish it is not going to take away from your manhood. What will take away from your manhood is if you disallow her from being all that she can be. So it's a mutual thing. It's just when individuals want to be both king and queen, and that other person is left out of a job, if you will.
It throws off the balance. What happens is people Americanized, whitewashed thoughts took away the power of the queen. If you look in a lot of African religions, the true trinity was God, woman, and man in no particular order but God first. It was all equal. But what happened was most people on this earth want to be a white man. So it takes away, it's not that it's better or worse, it just is. We all have different places where we're supposed to be, and it's not above, it's equal to. But I want to tell you why I asked that question. We always see entertainers have friction with each other. You are in my counsel. And what I was trying to do with that question was in no way take anything away from Sid, but to show, like, I know what you mean to me. I know what Scarface does for me. I know what Snoop does for me. What Pimp C did late at night when I had nobody else to talk to, but then again, I'm not married. So, there are these moments, and you have done that for me 2 times in my life and not even known it. I mean, done it like it wasn't shit and hung up, which was cool. I just wanted you to know, because the wraparound to that was that I appreciate you for always picking up. See it after you made that call, then we opened up a bridge for you and I to talk. And I appreciate you being that in my life, and I wanted to thank you. And I wanted to tell you it was so amazing just in this conversation. I want you to know how strong you were in dealing with your molestation, with you dealing with, where women are in Hollywood, women in general, then black women on top of that. A lot of times we don't know who we are in the stories. You don't know if you Jesus this time. You know what I'm saying? You may be the Jesus for us this time. We don't understand. We play different parts in different stories depending on where you are on the timeline. And I want you to know that I appreciate you, and you are part of my counsel. And I thank you for not just holding women down, but holding good people who stand for something. Because one thing that we didn't put into that equation is that people don't give a fuck about morals anymore. I don't care what nobody else does. And when kids ask me, David Banner, what's your advice with me going into Hollywood? I say, draw your line. Because if you don't draw a line, you'll be all the way down there. They're going to always push you to do more. And then one day you'll look up and not know yourself. So whether you know it or not, you're a part of my counsel. And you are one of the people that I go to when I really need it. And I thank you. And I appreciate you, sister.
My brother, we love you, baby. And thank you.
Sid, at the end of every one of our shows, we always have a message from the elder. something that we pass along to the kids. I don't mean this in age, I mean this in wisdom. Can you please give, just some advice to young people that's just coming up in life, not necessarily entertainment? Is there any piece of knowledge or nugget that you want to pass along?
Maybe a couple of things. If it is to be, what they say is up to me.
Right.
You can't get caught up on what you didn't get, because if you did, you can miss out on what you can get for yourself and what you have to do for yourself. So if you keep on looking up, they show you in jiu-jitsu, if you look up and somebody tries to pull your head down, you're only gonna go where your eyes are focused. So if you look down, that's where your head goes. But if you keep looking up, that's where you're gonna go. So keep looking up.
So he said jiu-jitsu. That means
That means he kicks ass. I was trying to fade in the music, Corey, and do your job. Y'all, we thank y'all for coming, and we thank y'all for being a part of the David Banner podcast. This is your home. This is your refuge. This is your microphone.
Thank you, baby.
If at any time you have something to say, you call on the phone, and we'll put it up to the mic and put a picture up there. You know what I'm saying? This is where you have a voice, and if you ever need me, if I can ever be of service, if I can, I'll say yes, and I'll be there. If I can't, I'll just say, sister, I can't. But most likely, I'll say about 95.5% of the time, I'm going to be there for you. And I love you both, and thank you.
It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Now I'm gonna open up my Bible.
Go ahead.
I got to do it.
Thank you for supporting the David Banner podcast.